Hey there, I'm Ryan Somerville, and this is my podcast where I bring on some of my fellow climbers, talk about climbing and anything outside of it. Today I have my friends Key and Nick. They just started a clothing brand, climbing brand, HITORII. I've just been super excited to see how it's developed from the beginning. Key has been my close friend for a while, and she shared designs very early on, so it's been awesome to see it develop and be so successful in the climbing community. And so thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks you.
I guess just to jump in right into it, how'd you guys get into climbing?
You go. I pressed the button.
Is it up?
I pressed this.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, sorry.
Why don't you go ahead?
I got into it because my coworker from my office showed me what climbing was after a hiking trip. And I always thought that it was a super dangerous sport.
Yeah.
And I feel like being in a more sheltered, like Asian upbringing, that misconception is pretty common. So I was pretty reluctant to try it. And then after I did, I just got hooked right away.
Mm-hmm. Your parents were pretty protective of you, of your safety and everything?
Not maybe like the stereotypical super protective curfew kind, but still they considered climbing as something dangerous.
Yeah, I just asked that because I know that you don't really tell your mom about your climbing adventures.
Yeah, especially at the beginning. She kind of found out by accident through a photo with like a pair of climbing shoes. But before that, I always told her I went on like hiking trips.
Yeah. And Nick, how'd you get into climbing?
So yeah, my good friend from back in like middle school, he ended up living in Yosemite for half a year, and he picked up climbing there. And then once he moved back to our hometown, he just showed like our group of friends.
Yeah, I think your local spot was
Stony Point.
Yeah, Stony Point.
Yeah.
For some reason, I jumped to Berkeley already.
No, it's, I started climbing after college. So yeah, I tried it out, and I was like kind of sad because it's like so close to my house, and I never knew.
Yeah,
like
you take advantage of it.
Yeah, but it was dope. It was kind of cool to go outside for my first time, and then I don't know, I just tried it once, and I figured I would just keep doing it forever. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, or what I was going to say. Oh yeah, like your first introduction to climbing was outdoors. Like it wasn't even indoors.
No.
Yeah. Which is I feel like that's kind of more rare nowadays, since there's so much accessibility to like the climbing gyms. So
yeah, I wonder. I'm sure they had some of the climbing gyms back then, but I'm sure like it's expanded a lot.
Yeah, it's like Rock Creation, Hangar, but we don't have like the cool facilities like Touchstone and Sender and all that. But yeah, for Kayla was your coworker, right? That introduced. So I guess kind of switching gears a little bit. You used to work in architecture, or kind of a transition out of it recently to start HITORII.
Yeah. I've been in architecture for maybe, including school, scary to count, but something like 12 years now, because the schooling system is so long, and you have to get a master's just to be able to get your license, and then you have so much like training and internship.
And I mean your college program too is different from most programs.
Yeah, it was a 5-year program, and there was no summer breaks. So you constantly went on internships, and then you went back to school. So that plus masters, which also included a good amount of travel. And then 4 to 5 years of work on top of that. Just felt like I've been doing it for a lifetime now. Yeah.
And you kind of feel like you've experienced it all really, with as much as you can in working at a firm and all that, right?
Maybe not as much as I could, but I always knew I wanted to do something on my own. I just didn't know what. I knew it related to design.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I think I convinced myself that it's architecture, which it still may come back around to be.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I never had the opportunity to explore something outside of it.
Yeah. I mean, looking at how you've grown HITORII and everything like that, you've been always, and seeing how you've like working in the architecture space, you're very intentional, you're very like particular how things are like built out. And so you knowing how you worked in architecture and transitioning to it seemed like such a natural fit. And with all your skill sets, even with your like sort of display, it just like has come together in such a very eloquent way where it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Like it just looks so, yeah, every aspect of it, you seem like when you don't know how to achieve something, you're able to go out and get the resources that you need to. But I think that's probably something you learn from working in architecture for such a long time.
Well, that's very nice of you to say because I wouldn't have packaged it that way.
Yeah.
But I do think in architecture, like you said, a lot of times you have to learn how to find answers to a wide array of questions because you're dealing with so many different parties, like clients. You're dealing with obviously your own firm, but you're also dealing with consultants. So all of that kind of teaches you how to navigate in such a complex field. So yeah, it definitely has been helpful with HITORII, and I think Nick's skill set also. I mean, you'll ask him more about it, but very similar.
No, I feel like a natural transition is like your skill set that can be applied to HITORII, and like how you're in used to be in, I was going to say sales, but stocks or
like finance, business. But I mean, I'm way less useful than her.
No, I know. Yeah.
The design is the most important part, but.
I mean, realizing it and like the logistics, the money and all that stuff is like a huge part of it. You could have something cool, but for it to actually be financially successful is like another part.
Yeah, I think I kind of just because I always tell her she has a really good like business sense and marketing sense just from being in an architectural firm that's like, kind of top in the field. And I just kind of like help validate a lot of her like, ideas, just like, oh yeah, that's definitely what I see. I've seen in like a number of different companies or case studies, right? So like just how something has grown and everything and built up and whatnot. I
think Nick really helps put things in perspective because I feel like as a designer you don't understand too much about how business works. You have maybe understandings of how people react to pitches and things like that. But things like, oh, you need to invest a lot in how much you should invest into like marketing and how much loss you should expect at the beginning and all those things. I feel like if it weren't for him, I would be, well, first of all, I'm very pessimistic. I would probably have a very different outlook of like how some things are going and not keep in perspective of like what it takes to start a company and like what hurdles I should expect to face. Yeah,
kind of like the sort of the beginning. You'll probably take a couple of shots to I don't even know what the term is, but like
shots to the chin.
Shots to the chin, just like have to know that you'll have to take away some losses in order to like move forward and just be consistent and not take that so personally. It's just part of business. It seems to resonate a lot with the climbing community. Like it's been about a month and a half now. And just even from day one, from your first display at Cliffs, it just so many people, like I was just like standing back and just seeing like everybody crowd around it, and it was just like nice to see it just all come together like from you showing like early designs and whatnot. And also I'm very honored that one of the designs I didn't know that at first, but I guess which one was it? The crash pad.
It's our mascot.
You are the mascot.
No, you have a mascot now, Mao.
That's true. Yeah, you got replaced, but you were the OG.
You guys have a cat now. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I feel like that's going to be me having two cats. That's going to be like good inspiration for your guys' designs as well, or just like little things that he'll do and just want to include them in your design.
We'll take him around and kind of draw inspiration from him.
He's going to be a crag cat.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just like, that's going to be awesome to see.
Yeah, I think overall because of like our different fields, we saw how in the climbing community there's kind of this lack of people who are kind of more interested in design, or like at least went to put that into like climbing apparel or climbing products. And overall, you know, like from the business perspective, there's a lot of opportunity because it is pretty new industry, new space.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies that are, you know, doing well or are prominent today are they're there because they're like the first ones.
Exactly.
To do it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, for some of the things we want to make in the future, like we really want to make things like more affordable in general, because we can see how a lot of products are like taken from other industries and marked up a lot, or just there's just no competition.
Yeah.
So we just want to like provide a lot of more value to climbers.
Just or I guess in terms of like making things more affordable, what do you have any in mind of like what products that would be? Or
I mean, like our pant is our biggest thing we're trying to work on, and I wouldn't say affordable as in like cheap, but more so providing more value. Like right, through design we can make products that are more comfortable, more multifunctional, longer lasting. I mean, that thing is the biggest thing. I've like noticed things don't really last that long. Which is upsetting, because like climbing stuff is like you're like, you know, you're outside rubbing against rocks and plants, and well, you shouldn't hit plants, but you know, like it happens. So
I think on the point of like multifunctionality too, what started this whole thing was pretty much like these pair of climbing pants that I came across and I started wearing, and people were always asking like, oh, you know, where do you get these climbing pants from, because they don't see it on like the typical big brand names,
right? Like Arc'teryx and Patagonia and all these
Prana,
things.
Yeah,
Prana, yeah.
And then when you see those kind of pants, you know it's more like for outdoor sports, and it's not for like day-to-day use.
Yeah.
And so what triggered this whole thing was that there was this pair of pants I found that was good for like streetwear and good for outdoor sports, that I could, you know, transition from office to the gym without having to like always bring change of clothes and having like an extra wardrobe just for like climbing. And I also don't have to like, you know, look like I'm a dirt bagger all the time. Right. In my outdoor gear, I can just be normal.
Yeah, wouldn't compromise style, essentially. Which is, I think, I mean, with the whole athleisure wear sort of style, like it definitely how that's become more prominent in our sort of culture. It is nice to be able to transition from like, it just something looks stylish, but also have functionality. Like I mean, even these pants right now, like I bought these yesterday. I'm just like, oh, like I could go climbing with these, but also I feel comfortable with like, I don't know, in terms of like if you're gonna do well outside and like the outdoors, but indoors I wouldn't think twice about wearing it. So, but it's definitely a market I think that needs to be fulfilled, especially towards climbers.
It's kind of crazy how many people have talked to her about her pants.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I knew you through that as well.
Know
like
better than me, actually.
Yeah. How long ago did you get those pants?
Maybe two something years ago. But ever since I got them, like a lot of guys and girls been asking about it. Yeah. And then they always follow up with like, oh yeah, you don't like see many nice pants, especially for women. They're like, you don't see many nice pants that like fit girls, and they call out specific brands too. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I felt when I was climbing at first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then you went the far reaches, like I looked around and whatnot, but to find the right pair. Are you guys interested at all, like trying to maybe go into doing pants at all, since that was like the inception of it? That's
like the main goal, I think, in terms of like the product roadmap.
Yeah,
that's actually what we're working on right now, trying to develop from scratch a pair of pants.
I thought I was speaking a little bit too soon, but I know it was already sort of like,
we're hoping like maybe in a month we'll have a sample we can like test
and
like try to get it out in a couple months.
This probably will come out like after that, but that's awesome to hear. So by then it comes out, it'll probably have some sort of traction. That's awesome to hear. Is like, I guess obviously it being durable for outdoors is the number one, but also looks stylish.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be something more along the lines of like hybrid, some sort of fabric that isn't so rigid and thick like outdoor pants that we're used to seeing. But then it also holds up for, you know, abrasion against rocks.
There's only a very few. I don't know if you heard of the brand Outlier. They had this type, they look like denim a little bit, but it was like very like thick, and like a group of friends of mine at the time, we were all like kind of wearing them. They introduced me to it, and but it kind of didn't, it was like too nice of like, it looked like I was wearing, I think a friend of mine said it, like when they knew I wore those pants, they're like, they're wearing really tight pants, like how are they like, but I guess it looks like they're too normal pants, like it didn't have this like cross between like stylish, outdoorsy. It looked too professional, I suppose. So I think that was like
designer jeans.
Exactly, yeah, that's what it looked like. And I was like, oh, okay. Because she was like, oh, how's he climbing those tight pants? Like, which I mean, obviously I have done quite a bit, but they've always like ripped on the crotch and everything. So
yeah, his rip
your
on other
your
parts.
biking roots, man.
Oh, it is definitely my biking roots. Yeah, busting the crotch is like definitely like. You would sew them, and then you would like probably like try to still use them, and then they would bust again. So,
oh my gosh.
But I'm glad we live in a world where we try to weave in spandex, or like I don't know what material is it, to like give it more stretchiness.
Yeah, spandex or like elastin.
Yeah, but yeah, that'd be awesome to see. I mean, I'll definitely rock them when you guys get them. I'll be the tester.
Yeah, I'll probably have you tested or something.
Yeah, the crotch test.
The crotch test.
Crotch test.
I guess as of right now, you guys have like the shirts right now, and that's your main design, stickers and pins and whatnot.
Yeah, so the whole idea was we tried to build from small merch to bigger and bigger pieces of investment, so we have the opportunity to, you know, test designs along the way, and then use that to then gauge, you know, what people like, what we like, how can we find a balance between all of that,
and then put them on more premium sort of like, I think one thing that I noticed that you were like sharing with me was like you went to this manufacturer, this place to see about, like you wanted to do recycled material, and you found one in LA, which was like I didn't know that they
it's actually reclaimed, but we actually learned that along the way too. But Nick has been always really interested in finding something that is like reclaimed or recycled as material, and ideally locally to start off too, just because you know you can see and feel the fabric. So this reclaimed fabric is actually made from cotton that would be otherwise dumped away, because in the normal cotton industry they comb through it, and a lot of short threads get thrown. I think she mentioned like
it's like the low quality cotton, and like some stems too. So what I'm wearing, or what she's wearing too, you can see like black specks, the bits of stem, and like, these is all the waste that they would get away, but they figured out like, you know, the weaving process to make it work,
to get just random ones and bring it together and everything.
These ones are usually, these threads are like a quarter of the length of normal thread lengths, and so the normal cotton industry finds a really hard time like working with them. So they found a weaving process, like Nick mentioned, to actually make use of it and still maintain like, you know, some sort of softness. So you see in these like undyed versions like stems, like he mentioned.
And you know, there's like a lot of like dynamics that we like that play into why we like this shirt. You know, with I mean, in general, I mean, personally, I didn't really have any kind of like recycled or sustainable clothing, like, and I don't think a lot of climbers do in general, actually. And when you look at climbing companies and the products they make, it's always like specific, you know, like category, it's a specific category or like collections that do that, but overall they're not really doing, you know, recycled materials. And then when they do recycled, it's like adding recycled plastic to a shirt, which we're learning it's like really bad, because now the plastic in the shirt can't get recycled. It's better to just keep it as a bottle, you know, so it can keep getting used in the same circular like
Life
there's a
cycle.
cycle, right?
Yeah.
But then now you took it out of that cycle.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so it's like kind of backwards, where it's like, okay, now the shirt has bottles in it, but it's actually worse.
Yeah.
Because that's going to go to landfill and just sit there.
Right.
So the plastic ends up exactly where you're trying to avoid putting it.
Becoming microplastics and everything.
So
yeah.
this, like, for us, I was really hyped about this shirt because it was like
Mm-hmm.
addressing all of those things and just directly tackling waste in the beginning of the process versus at the end. And yeah, they just make like really good clothes. The fit was like perfect, so
yeah,
it was like nice to introduce people to this, which
I mean, yeah, you did as well. Like I'm very particular how shirts feel and everything like that. I guess it's the combination. It's like how it kind of looks, how it fits, and I think I was convinced over like the feel, like the texture of it, and like how it would sit on my body, especially when I'm climbing. But then I saw you yesterday at the gym. I was like looking from afar, and it was like the darker one. I was like, oh, I definitely like how that is. Like we have somewhat similar body types, so I was like, I like how that is draped over you. I'll wear that. Yeah. So it definitely hit all those like quadrants for me. So is it pretty breathable though?
I mean these ones that's a different shirt. So that one is just 100% organic content.
Oh, okay.
That we found. But these ones, they're pretty, like, for me, they feel pretty comfortable.
Pretty comfortable, okay.
Because they're not thick, they're like mid-weight, so they kind of keep structure, but they're still pretty breathable.
Yeah.
And all of I think moving forward, like, we're always going to try to look for 100% content fabric, because part of what Nick is talking about is once it's 100%, it can be reused very easily. If you start mixing, then it gets really difficult to separate them and recycle them. That's why recycling shirts and things like that gets really difficult.
My sister used to actually I think she used to pick up like unused materials from factories and like do one sort of like design, like she had designs, and then but she would do it with that fabric, so it was like a limited amount of time. But it sounds like they could pick up that material that's left over at factories and able to reuse them.
No, not quite.
Not quite. Okay,
because that's right, they already made the fabric.
And
then they're like,
it's already dyed,
scraps.
already treated.
Exactly.
And
this is like just literally the cotton itself. They sort it.
So it's actually. It's not recycled.
So it's like, they're pretty much sorting, like, this is usable for our customers and this is not usable. And then those are all like the nice long strands that are soft. These are like the rougher short strands that are just hard to work with, and then they usually just throw it away.
Oh, and then they grab those.
Yeah. It's literally like low quality cotton.
And this is like what factories do, or like the people that are creating the threads. Oh, okay. So they're not even at the part where, like, when, let's just say, Levi or any clothing company, it's not like they're left over there. It's even before that, like the threads that literally come off the spool and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Wow, I totally interpreted that incorrectly. Damn. Okay. Wow, that's even like steps farther.
So it's interesting. This manufacturer, they were the first person to kind of like work out that problem.
Okay.
So now there's a few others who have also followed suit, but they were like the first to do it. And it's done in LA, so it was cool.
That's awesome that they were looking at there was a abundance of it, and then they designed a solution for it. It's
definitely scalable compared to like recycling at this stage right now, just because, as you said, like, there's limited fabrics available. You have to deal with dyes and mixed contents, whereas this, like, you have a constant supply of. Because that's always part of the main manufacturing system, so it's always just gonna and then that's something we've worked on a project before, but one thing that I learned a lot was, like, yes, you could come up with a revolutionary sort of design and whatnot, but how can you actually realistically manufacture it with the things that already exist in the real world? Because it's like, you need to create something from scratch, and how much money is that? And if you could just kind of hit this like little knuckle of something that exists and just like kind of design something that's kind of smart, and that's the smart way, because it's like you're not creating everything from scratch, you're sort of like riding off of what already exists. And even the shirt design came after this manufacturing process, learning about this manufacturing process. So we didn't like you were saying before, sometimes you get inspired by the existing process, and design doesn't just come from like thin air. So once we realize like, hey, we're using this reclaimed cotton, how do we celebrate it with the design and play it into the climbing scene? So that's kind of how the trash idea came to be. It's like made with trash, just like your beta. Because we always hear that at the gym, and it's kind of a good fun troll. We were initially worried that people would be like very negative about it. Right. So there's go ahead.
No, it was just funny because we were like, at first she was like, oh no, we can't do it. And I was like, no, it's good. It's perfect. It's like, we need to be savage. That's what they're missing. And then like the next day she's like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's too,
you were flip-flopping?
I think it's too mean. Yeah, we were like taking turns like flip-flopping, and then eventually
we were so like, close to changing it.
We were so close.
To made with trash like my beta. We already were getting the file ready to send out, and then Nick already wore the shirt. He's like, I feel so self-conscious. Like I don't, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I don't want people to feel self-conscious wearing it. Right. So I was like, you wore tested. I'm gonna wear tested. See how I feel. Yeah. And you know,
she felt fine.
I go into the gym. I'm like, you're trash. And then I walk up to my friend. I'm like, what do you think of this shirt? And they just like laughed hysterically. And they're like, I was like, oh, so would you like it if I change it to trash like my beta? And he's like, no,
this is good.
No, your beta's trash.
That's Ben, right?
No, that was
Corey.
Yeah, that was
shout
Corey.
out to Corey.
Oh, I don't know if I know Corey.
Like beast climber, super strong, gonna work off the wagon, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow, okay. That's awesome.
We're like, strong next climber level. Approved,
yeah. It helps to get a praise from someone that's like really like knitted into climbing, or just like have a lot of like climbing experience.
Yeah, and he's just such a welcoming and nice guy. So if he thought it was like, you know, fair game, it's like, it's pretty, no one will get too offended or anything. Right. Like he is he's just like a veteran climber, so I trust his opinion on the culture and everything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always go to those people and be like, am I like crazy, or like am I right to think this? And then if they're like, yeah, you're like, I always go to those people. But I'm becoming one of those people apparently, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why I asked for your opinions at the start. I'm like, does Ryan approve of this? Because he doesn't approve much.
Sometimes, yeah. But I remember you showed me those designs, and I'm like, I don't want to like offend anybody, but like I agree with it. Like it's just like I'm like.
We're talking about you though.
Huh?
What? No, I'm just kidding. No, but I think it makes sense. You've been climbing for a while now, and you go outside a lot, so I can see why people, they see you like as very experienced and full of knowledge. I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if we went sport climbing, we'd probably be like, Ryan, show us how to not die again.
No, it'd be like, do all the quick draws, and then okay, now we can. Climb.
Yeah. Can you set up the quick draws, and then okay.
Also take them down after.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm getting into like multi-pitch now, and I'm like, that's a whole endeavor where I feel like, you know, when you see someone show up at the crag like bouldering, and they're like doing all these things that like kind of piss you off because like they're being loud or like not considerate or like just talking while other people are climbing.
You're becoming a cranky old man.
Well, no. Now I'm going to be that newbie on the big wall and be like, this fucking person doesn't know how to like clip into the anchors correctly, or like that sort of thing, which I'm learning. And like, there's a turnaround in multi-pitch climbing, like how long you're at an anchor station. Like if you're not very clean with your setup, you're like, I'm sure like a crusty old person coming by and they're like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. So try and prevent that. But
but you're a real climber now.
Real climber.
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm still yet to like, you know, go up a multi-pitch. So
you went to trad class. That's you're a real climber.
Yeah. Time will tell though. If I go up a Yosemite wall, then maybe that's when I'll be like, okay. But yeah, the trash beta shirt, I was just like, yeah, you sent it to me, and I was like, but I'm glad you went with it.
Yeah, people love it, honestly.
It's we chose like a color that's kind of close to the shirt, so it's a little bit more subtle to really look at it. So actually a lot of people at the beginning were worried because they like walk by and they don't like see it at all, but we always know when they see it because they'd be like, hey, come look at this.
Oh, they'll be like,
look at this. Someone needs this.
Yeah. I actually saw that shirt I was at one of our gyms, like our local gyms, like randomly in the middle of the day, and I saw the shirt, like he was climbing with it, and I was like, kind of got a little emotional, just like seeing that it's out in the wild without like on its own. But yeah, I guess the next step is like seeing it at the crag. Which I'm sure will happen soon.
That'll be cool when we see it outside by chance.
But I mean, the biggest one I know will probably be like you're in this other area, like somewhere not like Red Rocks or Bishop, whatever, some random place, and you see your shirt out in the wild.
Yeah, we actually have a good amount of orders from random like Texas and like North Cal and like Chicago and New York. So we're hoping it like slowly plants its seed.
Yeah.
And then the next goal would be just like out in the wild on the street in the middle, like not in the climbing related space.
Yeah. Well, not for the trash tea, but definitely for the future products.
Future products,
like, just out
the
and about.
streetwear.
Yeah, the streetwear. Yeah, that'd be sick to see. I think I had followed a couple of like influencers that had started their own brand. And yeah, they said when they were just like walking around and saw it in the wild, that was like a big game changer. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty awesome to see it sort of unwrap so quickly, where you're like, I quit my job. I'm like, what the fuck? This is real. But
yeah, people like, kind of like, oh yeah, how serious are you? And then I'm like, oh yeah, he quit our job, and they're like, oh,
this is like,
that's brave, you know? They're but they're like
sort of stunned.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, I'm like glad you have this like side hustle. And I mean, at first I was like, oh, like yeah, this should be a side hustle. But at the same time, I thought about it like that was my perspective when I thought about starting anything. Like, oh, I'll keep my day job, and it's rationally the right thing to do, so that you have a constant stream of income. But then you realize like you only have so much emotional bandwidth, and that was one thing Nick kept informing me about. He's like, sure, you can have a constant stream of income, but you're not 100% dedicated. Your mental capacity is going to be very low after an 8-hour day of work. So you should just go all in and trust that you can make something out of it. And that I think was the best decision. Yeah,
there's always that jumping off period. But there was other things that you explored, like, I don't know if you want, there's like Haku, where you kind of explored that area. So you kind of like, it's not something you were like, oh, I'm just going to take a leap of faith. Like this was logical steps that you kind of followed and like sort of explored the market. But there was at one point where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I think the only reason I would give her that kind of advice is because it's not for everyone, honestly. Is because, you know, even though like the Haku, she didn't really sell much, overall, she's just been making so many things over the years. And a lot of them are like, they really stand out. You know? And so, yeah, it's just the level of quality that I thought it's like you should make a calculated risk on this, right? Like it's an investment in yourself technically, or like gamble on yourself. And it's just like the odds are good, right? And you just gotta trust yourself. And most of all, it's like, you know, most people kind of just do their job. And for her, it wasn't even that. It was like the job stressed her out. She had a lot of like bullshit to deal with, and so I was like, yeah, you're so tired, like if you put all that time and energy into like what you wanted to do, you'd get crazy results. Because I see like when she gets on these binges of like her random hobbies, like how much shit like just happens or pops up overnight. So yeah, and then like now that we're both doing this, we both work like a lot, like more than
a normal 40-hour,
but you know, neither of us feel like we want to do less, or we're like burnt out. I feel like, you know, it's been almost 3.5 months now, and like, oh yeah, I don't feel like I'm working anymore. And for her, I have to tell her to take breaks, like, you know, like I have to force her to rest and stuff like that. And she's like, but I'm like, just relax. She's like,
just turn it off a little bit.
Finishing this will help me relax. I'm like, shut up. It's not relaxing. But yeah, it's just like, it's night and day, you know? And so I think for a lot of people, it's kind of like, if you don't, like, you should think about how you could do this as well, right? Like build a way that you can spend the time you want to. And step one is like building a good skill.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's cool to see, you know, how this all plays out for her after taking that. Like, you know, that's a big decision.
Yeah. I mean, too, what you're saying is like, I always see her like messing around with like little things, like even like making little coaster ones, like those like just there's little things that you get interested in, or even the scents that you like.
Hey, maybe that'll come back into play. We'll get
for sure. Yeah. Well, that's a future. Sorry if I. Yeah.
But that's exactly what happened with the Mao, the mascot, and the pins and stickers. She just like, we were working on our posters, and that was actually our first idea and like our main like focus of.
Oh, that work. Was the first one.
Yeah, we were like really focused on the posters, and then one night she just did that randomly because she was just looking at like a lot of cute.
Well, things. For the most part, we're like posters for climbers, you know, you can only display it at home. And the big part of it was like, well, how do we get the product out there? Like, what's the rational step to take? How do we make ourselves visible? So I thought, well, the easiest entry would be like stickers and pins that you can put on your chalk bucket so that you get, you know, brand awareness. Yeah. And then that kind of started a whole, you know, hunt on what to do so that it represents the aesthetic of the brand, but also has like relatability to climbers who, you know, own pets or have personality that resemble pet traits. Yeah. So it became something of its own eventually, but it started off with like creating brand awareness for the posters actually.
Yeah. She just, you know, whipped them up.
Yeah,
like really quickly,
super casually. It seemed like
I kind of fed her the other 4 ideas, but yeah, like the crash pad Mao has obviously been our like by far the most popular, and you know, it's just like I tell her, she's just like, you know, these ideas just come out so easily. Yeah. And like they're just hits. People love him.
I mean, you're actually one of the inspirations, like the sloth.
I'm the sloth. So I'm. I think I'm number 2 on the sales chart.
Yeah.
But you're still like double me, so I gotta catch up.
Mao, I think, was inspired. I was just looking through old photos, and then I think I saw you with like 2 crash pad and sunglasses on a trail. I remember having a photo of that, and you were like just stone face hiking, but also kind of chill. Yeah. So I was like, that's the vibe I want to capture.
I didn't even know that was me. Like I was like, oh, what? Like,
what do you mean? You always wear like sunglasses, those black ones.
I feel like that's so interchangeable, though. I know what you're talking about, but
I think
it's just the vibe.
I think the way to put it is most people when they're on the approach, they look like they're kind of dying.
Yeah.
Oh.
You just look like you're look like you're floating with 2 pads, just like 30 minutes, just like
nothing. Yeah.
Ready for a day. I'm just like.
I mean, I definitely do those kettlebell squats to be able to endure those fucking 2-pad hikes. So, but yeah, I mean, I was super honored to know that, but I don't know if I'll ever tell anybody, hey, that's me or anything like that.
Hey, but what's on your chalk bucket?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been super cool, like us kind of having all these thoughts and then just taking a chance and doing it, and then how many people like it, you know? I think like, you know, a lot of people we don't know have kind of been our like biggest supporters in terms of like how much stuff they've gotten and just like how much they've like interacted and just been like encouraging. So it's been cool to see like the climbing community and like why we like it so much, right?
Yeah, I feel like through this we actually met so many people that we would not have met otherwise. And it's just been such a great inspirational journey.
That's true. I made more friends in the past like 2 months than I did my past like 5 years. So I think it's kind of like it just forces us to kind of open conversations, and then climbers are just cool people, so you naturally meet people that you get along with.
It's not just like, obviously climbing is something that we all like sort of be able to relate to each other. But when you have this other extension, especially like they're really resonating what you're putting out there, they're vibing with it, then it like, there's even a farther reach, and it makes it even easier to actually like, it sort of like, at some point in climbing, when you've been doing it for such a long time, you're like, okay, I'm at the gym, like this is nothing new, so I don't really need to. But when you're first at the gym, you want to talk to everybody, or at least I did. But now this is a different level of like relatability, because they're engaging with you on a different, more personal level, because they see your design and they're just like, oh, I vibe with that.
Yeah, that's a cool point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just like someone was talking about like video games, where he was a video game designer, and then he had so much social anxiety that he wants to connect with people, but he felt like he doesn't want to go through all the like little nuances of interacting with someone. So them vibing with his video game, like enjoying it, is a way to connect. But that's also where your designs come in. That's the way to connect to people, because they see these designs and it's just like, I vibe with that. I definitely like these little like animals. I love like the sloth and everything like that. I mean, like climbing like a sloth is like sort of a trope.
It's a trope for sure. I'm one of many.
Calling all sloths out there.
I think I've met only one person who climbs more slowly than I do, though.
Really,
so
really.
I'm up there on the sloth rankings, like international sloth rankings. I'm pretty high.
Yeah, but going back to what you're saying about people vibing with it, there are different kinds of people. Some who like really like to talk with you about, you know, what the designs are, but then our not favorite, but like the most special kind of customer, I would say, is like those who just like look, don't even talk to you, just like, can I get 2 of those, and then just walk away.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like, yeah, let me just spend $100 and like not say a word. Like,
yeah,
thank you.
Some people just
they just like it.
Just like it, but they don't say anything, and you connect with them via just that small interaction.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, you would just normally wouldn't have any interaction with them or anything like that. Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on my podcast and talking about HITORII and you guys' somewhat like your climbing journey and whatnot. But I loved having you guys on, and as HITORII gets bigger and evolves, like I would love to just kind of do another podcast and hear your guys' journey and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.